The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the dark void between stars. It was bigger than most moons and served as the home of the Galactic Council. Inside its metal halls, representatives from 12 different alien species gathered for an emergency meeting. Ambassador Krell slammed his forearms on the table. His red skin turned darker with anger as he spoke to the other council members. "The humans have gone too far this time," he said in his deep voice. "They built 3 new colonies in the Kepler sector without asking permission. They ignored our laws completely." The other aliens nodded their heads in agreement. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had wings or multiple eyes. But they all looked angry about what the humans had done. Council leader Thais stood up slowly. She was tall and thin with blue skin that glowed softly in the dim light. Her people, the Ethereals, had been part of the council for thousands of years. "The humans must learn their place," she said calmly. "They are still a young species. They need guidance." "Guidance?" Krell laughed harshly. "They need discipline. We should send our fleets right now and destroy their illegal colonies." The Melodian representative sang something in musical tones. The translation device turned her song into words. "Perhaps we should try talking to them first. Violence brings sadness to the galaxy." Krell's eyes burned with anger. "We have tried talking. For 50 years we have tried talking. They ignore every rule we make. They expand wherever they want. They act like they own the galaxy." Thais raised her hand for silence. The room became quiet except for the soft humming of the space station's engines. "We will follow proper procedure," she said. "We will send them an official summons. They have 30 standard cycles to come here and explain themselves. If they refuse," she paused and looked around the room, "then we will discuss other options." The council voted unanimously. Within hours, a message traveled across space toward the small blue planet called Earth. On Earth, President Jiwan sat in her office reading reports from the outer colonies. The morning sun shone through the windows of the Seoul government complex. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but those who knew her well could see the strength behind her gentle appearance. Her aide knocked on the door and entered quickly. "Madam President, we have received a priority message from the Galactic Council." Jiwan looked up from her papers. "What do they want now?" "They want you to come to Nexus Prime within 30 days. Something about unauthorized colonization in the Kepler sector." Jiwan smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Call an emergency cabinet meeting. Get everyone here in 1 hour." The meeting room filled quickly. Defense Minister Minho arrived first. He was a big man with scars on his hands from his days as a soldier. Foreign Affairs Director Yuna came next, carrying her tablet full of diplomatic notes. Chief Admiral Dong Hyun entered last, still wearing his Space Fleet uniform. "They want us to bow down again," Minho said after reading the council message. His voice was angry. "They think they can tell us where we can and cannot live." Yuna shook her head. "We should be careful. The council has ships from 12 different species. If we make them angry, they could attack Earth itself." "Let them try," Admiral Dong Hyun said quietly. His calm voice made everyone look at him. "We have been preparing for this day for 20 years. President Jiwan read the message again. The council's words were polite, but the threat was clear. "Come and apologize or face the consequences." "What exactly have we been preparing, Admiral?" Dong Hyun smiled for the first time in the meeting. "Project Prometheus, Madam President. Dr. Kyung's team finished the final test last month. And you think it will work?" "I know it will work." Jiwan stood up and walked to the window. She could see the city below, full of people living their normal lives. Children played in parks. Adults hurried to work. None of them knew that their planet might soon be at war with the galaxy. "The Council thinks we are still the same primitive species they found 50 years ago," she said without turning around. "They think we should be grateful that they allow us to exist. They gave us faster-than-light travel," Yuna pointed out. "They shared their technology. Without them, we would still be trapped in this solar system." Minho laughed bitterly. "They gave us old technology that they no longer needed, and in return they expected us to obey their every command. That is not generosity. That is control." "They treat us like children," Admiral Dong Hyun added. "They decide where we can explore. They limit how many ships we can build. They tax our trade with other species. We are prisoners in a cage made of their rules." President Jiwan turned back to face her advisors. "Dr. Kyung said that Project Prometheus could change everything. Is she certain?" "She is certain," Dong Hyun replied. "We tested it on our own ships first. The quantum field completely disabled all their systems without causing any damage. When we turned it off, everything worked perfectly again. And it only affects alien technology? Correct. Something about the way they build their power cores makes them vulnerable. Our human-built ships are completely immune. Ji-won sat down and looked at each person in the room. These were her closest advisors, people she trusted with humanity's future. If we refuse to go to the council, they will see it as an act of rebellion. Good, Minho said firmly. It is time they learned that humans are not slaves. Yuna looked worried. Madam President, this could mean war. Millions of people could die. Millions of people are already dying, Ji-won replied. Not here on Earth, but on the worlds the council controls. We have seen their reports. They take resources from weaker species. They force entire planets to work for them. The only difference is that we have been lucky so far. She made her decision. Admiral Donghyun, prepare our fleets. Activate Project Prometheus, and send our response to the council. That evening, President Ji-won's message traveled across the galaxy. It was short and simple. The sovereign nation of humanity declines your invitation. We will not negotiate the terms of our own freedom. On Nexus Prime, Council Leader Thais read the human response 3 times before she believed it. No species had ever simply refused to appear before the Council. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. Ambassador Krell's roar of anger could be heard throughout the station. They dared to refuse us? They dare to call themselves sovereign? We created them. We lifted them from their primitive planet. But across the galaxy, something had changed. For the first time in 1,000 years, someone had said no to the Galactic Council. And in the dark space around human colonies, Admiral Donghyun's ships began powering up systems that the Council had never seen before. The age of human obedience was over. Council Leader Thissa stared at the human message on her screen. Her blue skin had lost its glow and turned pale. In her 300 years of life, she had never seen anything like this. Species always came when the Council called. They might complain or argue, but they always came. This must be some kind of mistake, she said to her aide. Send the message again. Maybe they did not understand. The aide, a young ethereal with nervous energy, shook his head. We sent it 5 times, Leader Thais. Each time they send the same response. They refuse to come. Ambassador Krell burst into the chamber without waiting for permission. His red face was so dark it looked almost black. The humans mock us, he shouted. They spit on 1,000 years of council authority. We must act now. Calm yourself, Krell, Tis said, though her own voice shook slightly. We must think carefully about our response. Think? What is there to think about? Krell's forearms gestured wildly. Send the enforcement fleets. Destroy their colonies. Show the galaxy what happens when someone defies the council. The Melodian representative entered the room, her song speech filling the air with worried melodies. The translator turned her music into words. Violence should be our last choice. Perhaps economic sanctions would be better. Cut off their trade. Stop selling them fuel and equipment. Thais nodded slowly. That might work. Without our technology, they cannot maintain their colonies for long. But Krell was not satisfied. Sanctions take too long. Other species are watching. If we look weak, they might start refusing our orders too. Far from the Council's debates, Captain Sunho guided his exploration ship through the Kepler sector. The Soul's Pride was not a warship but a science vessel designed to map new star systems. Sunho had been exploring space for 15 years, ever since the Council first allowed humans to leave their solar system. Captain, his navigator called out. We have 3 ships approaching. They are not responding to our communication requests. Sunho looked at his screen. The ships were Vorthak design, painted in the red and gold colors of their empire. Keep scanning. Let me know if they power up weapons. The lead Vorthak ship finally responded to their signals. The alien commander appeared on screen, his red skin marked with scars that showed his military rank. Human vessel, you're in violation of council space. Stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Sunho leaned back in his captain's chair. This is Captain Sunho of the exploration vessel Soul's Pride. We are conducting scientific surveys in human space. You are the ones violating territory. The Vorthak commander's eyes widened in surprise. Human space? This sector belongs to the Council. It has belonged to the Council for 200 years. Not anymore, Sunho replied calmly. As of yesterday, this is human territory. You have 10 minutes to leave before I report you for trespassing. The alien commander laughed, a harsh sound like metal scraping against stone. You have one small ship. We have 3 battlecruisers. Surrender now and we will not destroy you, Sunho smiled. Computer, open a channel to all frequencies. I want the whole galaxy to hear this. He waited for the confirmation beep, then spoke clearly. This is Captain Sunho of the human exploration vessel Soul's Pride. We are being threatened by Vorthak ships in human space. These aliens are trespassing in sovereign human territory. The Vorthak commander cut off the transmission and powered up his weapons. Enough games. Surrender or die. I choose option 3, Sunho said. He pressed a button on his console. Prometheus protocol activated. On Nexus Prime, the Council received reports from across the galaxy. Their enforcement fleets were already moving toward human space. 200 ships from various member species, all armed with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. They will surrender when they see our fleet, this said confidently. No one can stand against the combined might of the Council. Admiral Hana received the Council's ultimatum in her command center on New Busan, humanity's largest colony in the Kepler sector. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes burned with fierce determination. She had fought in 3 different wars before joining the Colonial Defense Force. Admiral, her communications officer reported, the Council fleet is demanding our surrender. They say we have 24 hours to evacuate all human colonies in this sector. Hana looked at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet, 200 ships against her small force of 30 colonial defense vessels. Any sane military commander would surrender immediately. Send them our response, she said. Her message was simple and direct. You have 24 hours to withdraw from human space. This is not a negotiation. The Council fleet commander, a proud ethereal named Valeth, laughed when he received the human message. 24 hours? The humans had 30 small ships against his massive fleet. It was like a mouse threatening a tiger. But deep in the underground laboratories of Earth, Dr. Kyung made final adjustments to the quantum field generators. She was a quiet woman who preferred equations to people, but her work would change the course of galactic history. All systems are green, she reported to Admiral Dong-Yun. Project Prometheus is ready for full deployment. Are you certain it will work on this scale? Dong-Yun asked. Dr. Kyung nodded. We have tested it thoroughly. The quantum field will disable any ship using Council standard power cores. Their engines will stop. Their weapons will not fire. Their life support will switch to emergency backup power only. And our ships? Completely unaffected. Human power core design is fundamentally different from theirs. We learned from studying their technology, but we built something new. As the deadline approached, Captain Sunho's voice echoed across the galaxy. His encounter with the Vorthak ships had been broadcast on all frequencies. Everyone heard him declare human independence. Everyone heard him refuse to back down. The humans have lost their minds, Krell declared in the council chambers. First they refused to come here. Now they claim entire sectors as their own territory. This madness must stop. But on distant worlds, other species listened to the human broadcast with growing interest. The Castrani had been forced to give up their homeworld to pay council taxes. The Veltar were forbidden from exploring beyond their own system. The Free Jorvik clans had been fighting council occupation for 50 years. For the first time, someone was standing up to the council. Someone was saying no. Admiral Hana watched the council fleet approach New Busan, 200 ships against 30. In any normal battle, the outcome would be certain. But this would not be a normal battle. All ships, this is Admiral Hana. She broadcast to her small fleet. Today we make history. Today we show the galaxy that humans bow to no one. The council fleet moved into attack formation. Their weapons powered up. Their commanders prepared for an easy victory against the stubborn humans. They had no idea that everything was about to change. The council's enforcement fleet moved through space like a metal storm. 200 warships from 12 different species, all painted in the official colors of Galactic Council authority. Fleet Commander Valeth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony of New Busan grow larger on his screen. 50,000 humans live on that planet, his tactical officer reported. Their orbital defenses are minimal. A few defense platforms and 30 small ships. Valeth nodded confidently. He had fought in 17 different campaigns for the Council. He had conquered worlds with billions of inhabitants. This would be the easiest victory of his career. Open a channel to the colony, he ordered. On New Busan, Colony Administrator Minji received the call in her office overlooking the capital city. She was young for such an important position, but she had volunteered to come to this distant world because she believed in human expansion. Through her window, she could see farmers working in the fields and children playing in the parks. The alien commander appeared on her screen. His blue skin glowed with confidence, and his eyes held the arrogance of someone who had never been defeated. "I am Fleet Commander Valeth of the Galactic Council," he said formally. "You have 1 hour to begin evacuation procedures. Any humans remaining on this world after that time will be considered criminals." Minji looked at the alien calmly. She had been expecting this call ever since Admiral Hana's warning reached the planet. "This is Colony Administrator Minji of New Busan. You are illegally occupying sovereign human territory. This is your final warning." Valeth blinked in surprise. "Final warning? You have 30 ships against my fleet of 200. Surrender now and your people will not be harmed." "We will never surrender," Minji replied, "and in exactly 1 hour you will understand why." She cut the transmission before the alien could respond. Valeth stared at the blank screen in disbelief. These humans were either incredibly brave or completely insane. Perhaps both. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Disable their ships, but avoid hitting the colony itself. We want prisoners, not corpses." But as his fleet moved into attack formation, something impossible happened. The lights went out, not just on one ship, but on every council vessel in the fleet. Engines stopped humming. Weapon systems powered down. Life support switched to emergency backup. 200 warships suddenly became floating metal coffins in the darkness of space. "Report," Valeth shouted, but his bridge crew could barely see each other in the dim emergency lighting. "All systems are offline, sir," his engineer called out. "Main power is completely dead. I have never seen anything like this." On ships throughout the fleet, alien commanders demanded explanations from their crews, but no one had answers. Their most advanced technology had simply stopped working. In the space around New Busan, something shimmered like heat waves in the void. The quantum field generated by human technology spread outward from hidden generators, invisible but deadly to alien power systems. Admiral Taehyun watched the Council fleet drift helplessly from the bridge of his flagship. He was a careful man who planned every move in advance, and this moment had been planned for 20 years. "All ships, decloak," he ordered. Around the paralyzed Council fleet, 30 human ships appeared as if from nowhere. They had been there all along. Hidden by technology the aliens did not understand. Their engines glowed blue-white in the darkness, their weapons powered and ready. Taehyun opened a communication channel to the Council fleet. "This is Admiral Taehyun of the Solar Defense Force. Your ships are intact and your crews are unharmed. Our quantum disruption field can be reversed once you leave human space. You have 1 hour. On the Council flagship, Valeth listened to the human admiral's calm voice with growing terror. His mighty fleet was helpless. 200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy had been defeated without a single shot being fired. "How?" he whispered. His engineer was frantically checking his instruments. "The humans are using some kind of quantum field technology. It interferes with our power cores, but has no effect on their ships. Can we break free?" "No, sir. As long as that field is active, we are powerless." Back on Nexus Prime, the Council received emergency transmissions from their fleet. The reports seemed impossible. Entire fleets did not simply lose power. Technology did not work that way. "The humans must be using some kind of weapon," Krell declared. "A weapon they never told us about." Council Leader Thys felt a cold fear growing in her chest. "Contact Dr. Haiwan on Earth. I want to speak with their chief scientist immediately." Dr. Haiwan appeared on the Council's main screen an hour later. She was an older woman with silver hair and tired eyes, but her voice was steady and confident. "Council Leader Thys," she said politely, "I believe you have some questions about our technology. What have you done to our fleet?" Thys demanded. "What kind of weapon are you using?" Huan smiled sadly. "We are not using any weapons. We are simply defending ourselves with technology you gave us the knowledge to build." "Impossible. We never shared quantum disruption technology with anyone." "You shared something better," Haiwan explained. "You shared your ships, your computers, your power systems. For 50 years, every piece of technology you traded to us, we studied. We learned how you think, how your systems work, how to build countermeasures." Krell's angry voice interrupted the conversation. "You used our generosity against us. We welcomed you into the galactic community. You tried to make us your slaves, Hewan replied calmly. You gave us technology, yes, but you also gave us rules, laws, limitations. You decided where we could go and what we could do. That is not generosity. That is control. Thais leaned forward. Release our fleet immediately. This act of aggression will not be tolerated. Your fleet is free to leave at any time, Hewan said. We are not holding them prisoner, but they cannot use their weapons in human space. Our quantum field will remain active as long as council ships are in our territory. Your territory? Thesa's voice rose in anger. The Kepler sector belongs to the council. Not anymore, Hewan replied. As of today, humans claim the right to govern themselves. We claim the right to explore the galaxy without asking permission. We claim the right to build colonies wherever we choose. The council will never accept this rebellion. Then the council will find itself fighting a war it cannot win, Hewan said. Your ships cannot function in our space. Your weapons cannot fire. Your engines cannot move you. But our ships work perfectly. In the space around New Busan, Admiral Taehyun checked his chronometer. The hour was almost up. Council fleet, this is your final warning. Leave human space now or remain here forever. Fleet Commander Valeth had no choice. His proud fleet was helpless against this human technology. All ships prepare for emergency withdrawal. Move to minimum safe distance using backup thrusters only. It took 6 hours for the Council fleet to limp away from New Busan using only their weakest engines. As soon as they crossed the boundary of human space, their main power returned. But the humiliation remained. 200 ships defeated by 30. The greatest fleet in galactic history, sent running by humans who were supposed to be primitive and grateful. On Earth, President Jiwon received Admiral Taehyun's report with satisfaction. The first test of Project Prometheus had worked perfectly, but she knew this was only the beginning. Dr. Hewan, she said to the scientist, how quickly can we expand the quantum field network? We can protect 12 more star systems within a month, Hewan replied. 50 systems within a year. Then get started. Something tells me we are going to need all the protected space we can get. Across the galaxy, news of the Council's defeat spread like wildfire. For the first time in 1,000 years, someone had faced the Council's might and won. Species that had been oppressed for centuries began to whisper among themselves. Maybe it was time to stop being afraid. Maybe it was time to be free. 3 days passed without any word from humanity. 3 days of silence that felt like an eternity to the Galactic Council. The defeat at New Busan had shaken them to their core, but the silence that followed was even worse. Council leader Thys paced her chambers like a caged animal. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Council's enforcement fleet had returned home with their crews traumatized and their commanders humiliated. Ships that had never known defeat now carried the shame of helplessness. The crews are talking, her aide reported nervously. Word is spreading to other fleets. Some captains are asking questions about our authority. What kind of questions? Thais demanded. They want to know how the humans defeated us so easily. They want to know if we are still strong enough to protect them from other threats. Ambassador Krell stormed into the chamber without announcement. His red skin was darker than usual and his forearms gestured wildly as he spoke. The entire galaxy is laughing at us. My own people are asking if the mighty council has become weak. We are not weak, Thys said firmly. We simply encountered unexpected technology. Then why have we not destroyed the humans yet? Krell demanded. Why do we sit here doing nothing while they mock our authority? Before Thys could answer, her communications officer burst into the room. Leader Thys, the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. They want to address the galaxy. President Jiwon appeared on screens throughout council space and beyond. She sat in her office on Earth, looking calm and confident. Behind her, through the window, the lights of Seoul glittered in the evening darkness. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice clear and strong. For too long, younger species have been forced to kneel before the Council's arbitrary authority. For too long, we have accepted that might makes right and that the strong can rule the weak, simply because they have bigger fleets. On Nexus Prime, Thais watched the human president with growing alarm. This was not a plea for mercy or an offer to negotiate. This was something much more dangerous. Today, humanity offers a new path. Jiwon continued. We offer true independence, mutual respect, voluntary cooperation between equals. We offer freedom from the Council's endless taxes, restrictions, and demands for obedience. She is declaring war on us, Krell growled. But this shook her head. No, she's doing something worse. She is offering an alternative. Jiwan's speech continued across the galaxy. Any species that wishes to govern itself is welcome in human space. We will protect you from retaliation. We will trade with you as equals. We will never demand tribute or force you to follow our laws. The transmission ended, but its effects spread immediately. Within hours, 3 different species sent messages to Earth. The Kestrani had lost their homeworld to Council taxation 20 years ago. The Veltar had been forbidden from exploring space beyond their own system. The Free Jorvik clans had been fighting Council occupation for decades. All 3 asked the same question. Could humanity really protect them? Admiral Seokjin commanded the human fleet that met the first refugee ships at the edge of human space. He was a veteran of the old Earth wars, and he understood what it meant to fight for freedom. As he watched the alien ships approach, he felt the weight of history. Admiral, his communications officer reported, the Kestrani colony ship is requesting permission to enter human space. Granted, Seokjin replied. Escort them to the new Sol station and activate the quantum field generators. Make sure they know they are safe. The Kestrani captain was an elderly alien with feathers instead of hair and eyes like a bird of prey. When his ship entered the protective field around human space, he sent a message that was heard throughout the galaxy. For the first time in 20 years, my people are free. Similar scenes played out across the expanding human territory. The Veltar brought their scientists and explorers, eager to map new stars without council permission. The Free Jorvik clans arrived with their warrior culture intact, ready to defend their new home. Captain Yunji led the humanitarian missions that brought food and medical supplies to worlds suffering under council rule. She had volunteered for this duty because she remembered stories her grandmother told about Earth before first contact. Stories about helping neighbors and standing up for the weak. Captain, her medical officer reported as they approached the planet Thresh, the inhabitants are suffering from malnutrition. The council has been taking 60% of their food production as tribute. Then we give them enough supplies to last 6 months, Yunji decided, and we make sure the council knows we did it. Her ships dropped aid packages across Thresh while broadcasting their mission on all frequencies. The message was clear. Humans would protect those who could not protect themselves. On Nexus Prime, the council watched their authority crumble with each passing day. Species that had obeyed for centuries began questioning orders. Worlds that had paid tribute for generations started asking why they needed council protection, if the council could not even defeat one small human fleet. We have lost 12 member species in the past week, Thice's aide reported. The Melodians, the Harathi, and 10 others have declared independence and requested human protection. Krell slammed his fist on the table so hard it cracked. This is madness. We created the Galactic Order. We brought peace to 1,000 worlds. We brought order, This corrected quietly, but perhaps not peace. Meanwhile, engineer Changmin worked around the clock in the deep space construction yards. His job was to expand the quantum disruption network faster than anyone thought possible. Each new generator protected another star system from council retaliation. How many systems can we protect by the end of the year? Admiral Dongyan asked during his daily inspection. 50 if we push hard, Changmin replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. Maybe 60 if we get help from our new allies. The Veltar engineers want to help, Dongyan said. Their technology is different from ours, but they understand quantum mechanics. Good. We will need all the help we can get. As the human territory expanded, a new kind of civilization began to emerge. Species that had been enemies under council rule learned to work together. The artistic Melodians shared their culture with the practical Jorvik clans. The scientific Veltar collaborated with human researchers on new technologies. Trade flowed freely between independent worlds. No taxes, no restrictions, no bureaucrats demanding permits for every transaction. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy experienced true economic freedom. But the Council was not ready to surrender. In the deepest chambers of Nexus Prime, emergency meetings continued day and night. Military advisors drew up plans for total war. Diplomatic experts suggested negotiation and compromise. We could offer them a seat on the Council, suggested the Melodian representative who had remained loyal. Make them equal partners instead of subjects. Krell's laughter was bitter. Equal partners? They have humiliated us in front of the entire galaxy. They have stolen our member species. They must be destroyed. With what? Thais asked wearily. Our fleets cannot function in their space. Our weapons cannot fire. How do we destroy an enemy we cannot touch? The question hung in the air like smoke. For 1,000 years, the Council had ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force, but the humans had made force irrelevant. Their quantum fields turned the galaxy's most advanced weapons into useless metal. Deep in the human research stations, Dr. Sujin was working on the final phase of Project Prometheus. She was young and brilliant, the kind of scientist who saw patterns others missed. Her discovery would change everything once again. The quantum field does more than disable ships, she explained to President Jiwan during their secure video call. It can be programmed to respond to intent. If someone approaches our space with peaceful purposes, their ships work normally. But if they come with violence in their hearts, their technology fails, Jiwan finished. A built-in peacekeeping system. Exactly. We can make aggressive war impossible while still allowing trade, exploration, and normal contact. Jiwan smiled for the first time in weeks. How soon can you implement this? The modification is already complete, Sujin replied. We tested it yesterday. A Vorthak scout ship tried to probe our defenses with hostile intent. Their engines stopped working immediately, but when they signaled peaceful intentions, power returned instantly. Deploy it to all our systems, Jiwan ordered, and make sure the galaxy knows how it works. I want every species to understand that violence is no longer an option in free space. News of the intent-based quantum field spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. Warships could no longer approach human territory with hostile plans. Pirates found their vessels powerless when they tried to attack peaceful traders. Even the Council's remaining fleets discovered that their own aggressive thoughts made their ships unreliable. For the first time in galactic history, peace was enforced not by threat of retaliation, but by the simple impossibility of violence. The age of conquest was ending. The age of cooperation was about to begin. 6 months had passed since humanity's first refusal to negotiate with the Galactic Council. The galaxy looked completely different now. What had started as a simple act of defiance had grown into a revolution that changed everything. The human sphere now encompassed 47 star systems and was still growing. Each system was protected by quantum field generators that made traditional warfare impossible within their boundaries. More importantly, these fields responded to the intentions of approaching ships, creating a zone where violence itself could not exist. President Jiwan stood on the observation deck of New Sol Station, humanity's newest and largest space facility. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from dozens of different species docking peacefully. Kestrani traders unloaded rare minerals. Feltar scientists shared data with human researchers. Jorvik clan warriors practiced alongside human marines in joint training exercises. Madam President, her aide announced, the representatives are ready for you. The main conference room of New Sol Station was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others required special atmosphere suits. A few existed as energy patterns rather than physical bodies, but all of them had one thing in common. They had chosen freedom over submission to the Council. Friends and allies, Jiwan began, her voice carrying to every corner of the room through advanced translation systems. 6 months ago, humanity made a simple choice. We chose to govern ourselves rather than bow to distant masters. Today we gathered to make that choice permanent and universal. The Kestrani representative, Elder Cass, spoke first. His feathered head moved in what humans had learned was a gesture of agreement. The Kestrani have lived under council rule for 300 years. We forgot what freedom felt like until we entered human space. Now our children ask us why we waited so long to be free. Feltar Captain Nix floated in her mobility sphere, her gas-form body shimmering with different colors as she spoke. My people have always been explorers. The Council limited us to our home system for 2 centuries. In 6 months of freedom, we have mapped more space than in the previous 50 years. One by one, the representatives shared their stories. The Melodians sang of cultural renaissance now that they could create art without council censorship. The Harathi spoke of scientific discoveries made possible by unrestricted research. Former slave species described the joy of working for themselves instead of council masters. Then we are all in agreement, Jiwan said. We formally established the Free World's Charter. A voluntary association based on mutual defense, free trade, and respect for self-determination. The charter was signed by 43 different species that day. No one was forced to join. No one was required to contribute more than they could afford. No one would be punished for leaving if they chose. It was everything the Council was not. But even as the free world celebrated their new alliance, the old order fought desperately to survive. On Nexus Prime, what remained of the Galactic Council struggled with rebellion and collapse. "We have lost 2/3 of our member species," Council Leader Thys announced to the emergency session. Her blue skin had lost all its glow and her voice carried the weight of defeat. "Our authority exists only in name." Ambassador Krell stood alone now. His Vorthak Empire was one of only 4 species still loyal to the Council, and even that loyalty was wavering. "We should have destroyed Earth when we had the chance," he said bitterly. "Now it is too late." "It was always too late," said a new voice from the chamber entrance. Everyone turned to see ethereal Elder Zan, one of the founders of the original Council 1,000 years ago. She was ancient even by ethereal standards, her skin so pale it was almost transparent. "Elder Zan," Thys said with surprise, "you have been in meditation for 50 years. "I awoke when I felt the galaxy changing," Zan replied. "I came to see what we had built and what we had become." She moved slowly to the center of the chamber, her age-dimmed eyes looking at each council member in turn. "We created the council to bring peace after the Great War. We wanted to prevent the chaos and destruction that had torn the galaxy apart. And we succeeded," Krell protested. "We brought order to 1,000 worlds. We brought control," Zan corrected. "We became the very thing we sought to prevent. We ruled through fear and force, demanding obedience instead of earning respect." Thys felt something break inside her chest. "What are you saying, Elder?" "I am saying that the humans are right. I am saying that our time is over." Zan's voice grew stronger. "The galaxy no longer needs rulers. It needs guides, partners, friends." Krell's roar of anger echoed through the chamber. "You would surrender everything we built to these primitive humans?" "I would surrender our mistakes," Zan replied calmly, "and learn from their wisdom." As the council argued among themselves, the free worlds continued to grow. Admiral Wujin commanded the exploration fleets that pushed the boundaries of known space ever outward. He was a quiet man who preferred actions to words, and his actions spoke volumes about human intentions. "Admiral," his navigation officer reported, "we have contacted another isolated species, the Xanthi. They have never heard of the Galactic Council." Wujin smiled. "Then they have been lucky. Send them our standard message. Tell them we come in peace, seeking trade and friendship. No demands, no conditions." The Xanthi were a silicon-based species that lived on worlds of crystal and metal. When they learned about the Council's methods of conquest and control, they immediately requested membership in the Free Worlds Alliance. Similar scenes played out across the expanding sphere of human influence. Species that had been isolated by Council restrictions finally met each other as equals. Trade routes opened between worlds that had been kept apart for centuries. Scientific knowledge flowed freely without bureaucratic interference. Engineer Changmin had expanded the quantum field network to protect 62 star systems. Working with alien scientists, he had also improved the technology beyond its original design. The new generators can distinguish between different types of aggressive intent, he explained to Admiral Dongyun. They stop weapons but allow defensive actions. They prevent conquest but permit protection. And the range? Theoretically unlimited. If we had enough resources, we could protect the entire galaxy. But the free worlds did not seek to conquer territory. They sought to create it. Every species that joined was given complete autonomy over their own affairs. Humans provided protection and facilitated cooperation, but they never demanded obedience. Dr. Sujin made one final breakthrough that would secure the new order forever. Working with Veltar quantum specialists and Melodian mathematicians, she created something unprecedented in galactic history. "We call it the Peace Protocol," she explained to President Jiwan. "It is built into the quantum field itself. Any civilization that develops faster than light travel will automatically trigger peaceful contact protocols when they encounter the field." "No more first contact wars," Jiwan said with wonder. "No more fear of the unknown." "Exactly. The galaxy will expand through exploration and friendship, not conquest and subjugation." On Nexus Prime, the end came quietly. One by one, the remaining Council species declared independence or simply stopped responding to summons. The great station that had once ruled 1,000 worlds became a monument to failed dreams. Council Leader Thais made the final announcement herself. The Galactic Council hereby dissolves. Our authority is ended. Our rule is finished. Elder Zan placed a gentle hand on This's shoulder. Our rule is finished, but perhaps our service can begin. 3 of the former Council species, including the Ethereals, requested membership in the Free Worlds Alliance. They were accepted without reservation, their past mistakes forgiven in favor of future cooperation. Only the Vorthak Empire refused to join the new order. Ambassador Krell led his people into the unexplored regions beyond the galaxy's edge, still believing that might made right and that conquest was the only path to glory. Let them go, Jiwan said when she heard the news. Perhaps they will find wisdom in exile, and if they ever return seeking peace, they will be welcome. Fleet Admiral Wu Jin stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as the last Vorthak ship disappeared into the darkness between galaxies. His communications officer, Lieutenant Dayun, handed him a report. Sir, 17 more species have requested entry into free world space, and we have received a message from the Andromeda Galaxy. They want to establish peaceful contact. Wu Jin looked at the star chart showing the expanding network of free worlds. Humanity had started with one small planet and a simple refusal to bow down. Now they guided an alliance that spanned thousands of systems and was reaching toward other galaxies. Set course for the Andromeda Relay, he ordered. It is time to see if there are other galaxies that need to learn about freedom. President Jiwan received the report of first contact with Andromeda while standing in the same office where she had first read the Council's ultimatum. The irony was not lost on her. A demand for submission had become an invitation to the stars. Madam President, her aide said, the Andromedan representatives are requesting a meeting. They want to learn about our Free Worlds Charter. Schedule it, Jiwan replied, and make sure they understand that we come as equals, not conquerors.